Hey everyone, this is Kevin with Divinely Designed, and I have a rimmed soaping video today. That's where you have an outer casing to a soap. This ended up being a really long video, so I sped everything up, and I'm doing a voiceover. I'm using a 3-inch PVC pipe as my mold, which I will be lining with acetate, which you see me holding there. I like to line my PVC molds with acetate because I find it helps me get the soap out much easier. You see that black line I'm pointing out there? That is the size of the sheet of outer soap I am planning to make. Otherwise, I have it on a cookie sheet, which I've just protected with some press and seal. Here I've got my 3-inch PVC, which I have an end cap on and some other press and seal to make sure that the soap stays in. Now, check the comments for the formula for this actual recipe, but I'm using some red, green, and white here. I thought I was going to have the outside of the soap be the portion that is on the acetate, that rests on top of the acetate. That doesn't end up being the case, and this gold mica actually sort of made it look like a blob. So, having done this now just once, that's something I learned. But I am going to make some colors here, some red and green. I'll be using Celestial Colors Cherry for the red, and I started off using Shamrock for the green, but it turned this sort of gray green, and I didn't really like it, so I had a lot of additional soap left over, so I switched to a different green from Celestial Colors called Emerald. And that turned out to be a much more sort of, bright green that I was looking for. The white is titanium dioxide from Brambleberry, and I am using a fragrance from Brambleberry called Santa Spruce, which is a lovely kind of pine, spruce tree scent, but it has a sweetness and almost a floral feminine quality that's very lovely. It's not super strong. I shouldn't say that. It's a very strong fragrance overall, but it's very nice. Okay, so I'm just pouring the soap in strips here. And again, my intention was the outer portion would be the portion that is furthest away from the top of the soap here, that's actually against the acetate. But that's not what happened. I ended up using the top portion that you're looking at here. I'm going to do a swirl, just sort of drag it back and forth, and it actually looks kind of cool. But later on, I'm going to flip it over, and you'll see the back does not look nearly as pretty, so I end up using this side for the outer portion. Now, I let it set for a few hours, but it's still soft and very pliable, and I thought that's really what I needed, but I really should have let it sit longer. Now, here's the back, which I was planning to use, but you can kind of see it doesn't look nearly as pretty as the other side. Now, I'm going to trim off my excess to be the exact size of the acetate sheet that I had poured the soap on top of. So I'm just sort of trimming off the edges here. Now, I will flip it over because I do then want to use the other side as the side that is on the outside. But I do want to continue to use an acetate sheet to line my mold. Now, a little piece broke off there, which I just sort of squished back in place. But that will become a theme shortly. This portion was really difficult, a lot more harder than I thought it would be. Here I'm using a 2-inch PVC pipe to sort of give me support, but it ended up not really working well. And then when I put it inside the tube here, the PVC, the 3-inch one, you can see I have a huge amount of overlap. So I had to cut off a decent portion of the soap in order for it to fit perfectly inside the tube, so I didn't have a big overlap. But you can see my soap cracked significantly. I then try to roll it up again and using the acetate to help me, but I end up rolling it the wrong way, and I have the wrong side on the outside. So I have to redo it, and each time I'm doing that, you can see the cracks that are happening. Now I try to fix it and sort of squish it back together because it is still soft, but I really thought this was just going to be a disaster, and it kind of was here. It was really hard to make this happen. I eventually get it rolled and get it inside the 3-inch PVC pipe with the right side where I want it. You see me trimming off the excess acetate here. That helped a little bit. But I then had realized I trimmed off too much, so I end up with a gap in the outer rim, and you can briefly see it there. So I'm going to try and fix that by adding some pieces of soap back in, and I'm going to use a long-handled spoon to kind of reach in and squish them into place so that I don't have this big gap in the outer rim of the soap itself. This was much harder to do than I thought. The next time, I'm definitely going to let my outer rim sit for longer, and I'm going to gel it, which I hear also helps in making it pliable and not cracking. I finally finished the outer rim and made it was nice and complete. I then made another soap that I'm just going to color white with titanium dioxide. I am going to use that Santa's Spruce fragrance oil here. Now, Santa's Spruce does have vanilla in it, so it discolors. I didn't use any vanilla stabilizer for my red and green in the rim, so that possibly could darken. But I do use vanilla stabilizer here. So I used 50 grams of fragrance, and I matched it with 50 grams of vanilla stabilizer. I also added a little bit of yogurt powder just for a little bit of luxury here, because the soap is otherwise fairly plain and simple. So I'm just mixing up this batch of white Santa Spruce scented soap and then pouring it into the PVC pipe itself. And then I'm going to let it sit overnight until it's finished nice and firm. Here I am unmolding. I'm going to use a 2-inch PVC pipe to help push the soap out of the 3-inch one. And this works really well. And because of the acetate, once it gets started, it slides out super easy. Once I remove the acetate, you can see the design, and actually it's not bad. I thought it was going to be terrible. Now there's definitely places where the soap that I poured in the middle has come through some of the cracks and just sort of overflowed, so it's not perfect, but it came out better than I thought. So you can see the rim is about a 1/4 inch there, and then the middle is just the white soap. Now I did get a partial gel, so some of it turned sort of yellow in the center, but overall I was actually somewhat pleased here. I thought it was going to be terrible, and it's definitely not perfect at all, but it looks okay. Now the other thing I realized was I wish I would have turned my outer sheet so that the design was going vertical instead of horizontal. I think that would make the individual round soaps, the outer portion, look much cooler. Instead, it sort of doesn't look quite as dramatic here. So that's another thing I think I'm going to try in the future. Overall, kind of a difficult soap to make, but I am going to try this again and take what I've learned here. I do have a still photo coming up where you can see that after I cleaned them up with a vegetable peeler, they actually look pretty okay. I'm pretty pleased with it. So hope you like this. Comments, questions below. If you like this, click that thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, click on my subscribe button. Check back here at Divinely Designed for more videos. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.